John, I just got a call from a customer and they've got a problem they're hoping that Vanguard can help them with. It's a bank, and in one of their branches, they've got a bunch of tellers, and they actually transferred one of the tellers from a previous position, put them in the teller position. And this one teller cannot do certain transactions that other tellers can.
Okay.
And they traced it down to a permissions issue somewhere in the back end, and they gave it to their administrator. Their administrator can't figure out what the difference is
Sure.
that prevents this one teller from being able to commit a certain transaction.
Mhm.
In this case, a financial transaction. And they're hoping Vanguard can help them.
Sure. Well, the customer, do they have Vanguard administrator?
They do.
Okay. Because what you're really describing is an entitlement issue, right?
Right.
And over time, everybody gets this little bit and that little bit and the other one, and we grow to a point where your administrator's telling you, look, you just got too much stuff for me to look at.
Right.
Okay. So we have a utility that's inside that product, and I'm glad to hear that they have that they can say teller 1 and teller 2, tell me what the differences are between them. Not only that, but it can build the commands to make them fix the problem there. Not only identify the problem by comparing access list, what does the user have? What does this user have? What's the differences? Can I make them the same?
So what you're saying is they can essentially go into Vanguard Administrator, put in two IDs.
Two
One is
IDs,
the teller that's not able to commit the transaction, and one that is, and then instantly see
Sure, compare the two of them and tell me what's the difference.
So they find the difference. Let's say it's just a permission or two.
Sure.
Then what?
Then it will actually build the commands and rectify the problem for them. It will give the administrator you talked about, say, hey, here's the commands you need to make them the same.
So if teller 1 is the one that can commit the transaction, and teller 2 can't, it can actually say make teller 1's permissions
The same
make
as teller 2.
2's permissions same as teller 1.
Correct.
Or make teller 1's like teller 2.
Sure.
Can it combine the two?
Sometimes you want to do that, but that's a little different problem than you described, but
Right.
yes, it can do that also.
So this will solve the problem that they have in their
Sure.
entitlement.
Yeah, and you actually just described two problems, and I like that. It describes the problem of, the transition from place to place and compare and make things the same. But also, I assume down the road, you'll find that teller 1 and teller 2 roles were different, and now they're the same, and you want to make both people the same. That's called when you're combining and transitioning them into a single role.
Right.
We have that tool built into that too.
Oh, good, because they told me that they're probably going to end up deleting the user ID and all the associated permissions and rebuilding it.
Yeah.
And they really wanted to avoid that because then, of course, there's a long
You might
run.
miss something.
Right,
along the way.
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah. If you do a human kind of thing like that, yeah, that's kind of bad. But no, we have what's called compare manager.
Okay.
Compare identity number 1 with identity number 2, and then take the choice of fixing them.
And does that work just at the permission level? What if there's group connections
No,
and
it's,
things like that?
it's all entitlements in the system. Groups, direct connects, direct permissions, all those things where anything that user is associated with and access is associated with.
So essentially what you're saying is it actually compares the two
Compares
user
the
IDs.
two,
and
that's why it's
finds the
called compare
differences.
manager.
Oh.
It compares, and it will compare groups, it will compare data sets, it will compare profiles, but what you're describing is compare users.
Oh, excellent. I'll let them know about that.
Okay.
And you said that's an administrator.
It's an
today.
administrator.
They don't need anything?
No other product required. Down into one of the menus, you'll see a thing called compare manager.
Okay, I'll let them know. Thanks.
Mhm.